browser, like perhaps my computer is not the fastest computer, and
Yeah.
it could be really like sluggish sometime. And yeah, like I was experiencing like this frozenness.
So
Uh,
like the interface was basically freezing up for you. Yeah. So there's some performance issue in the
yeah,
app itself. I actually think if we figure that out, then your connection would have been fine.
yeah.
So it's some using too much CPU somewhere, which is causing all sorts of issues. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I hope that helped kind of, it wasn't as smooth as I had hoped, but I hope it gives some idea of what's possible in that environment and kind of where we're at. It's still an evolving thing. But yeah.
Okay, so maybe I should go into a bit from the new paradigm toolkit idea. I mean, one thing is it's a physical card set called the conscious communication card set, and it has 6 different decks, which is pretty unique compared to most card sets are sort of one deck, and 2 of the, there you go.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're round.
Yeah.
So the 2 card decks that are behind me now are the values and convo types. And so there are 72 conversation types that are linked into business. And so if you look at first contact, pretty self-explanatory, the first time you meet somebody. Connecting, which is, I think, your whole business model is based upon that convo type in a sense, right? Ideation, not quite like brainstorm, but coming up with a new idea. Guidance, helping someone along that needs some help. Healing, perhaps if you were telling us how hard it was to get your startup going and what you had to go through, and we all listened to you, that would be like a healing combo. Reformat, that's like a complete reformat of your whole product idea, like sort of starting from the beginning and starting all over again. And then appreciation, we really appreciate that you're here with us right now at this time. And I think a time where both our teams are at, well, I wouldn't say crossroads, but it sounds like you're at a crossroads in a sense of getting, you have to get your business model going in order for you to really proceed, I guess, right? And so one of these, the big distinction in this that matches toward, I think what you're doing is you're moving, like this is a 7-step process, a start, a setup, a build up, a crescendo, ease out, connect and unify and finish. And so like you showed us, you have the ability to basically map out processes by breaking down parts, right? So this is just one of them, but to me, this is like a universal process that's built into the whole idea that I'm working with. And so the idea being that you can take somebody's gifts, like we did this for Hajnal, looking at, what conversation types are her gifts. Because some people, like, they're very good at guiding people. Some people, they're very good at healing people. And so the idea being that through this process, we went to identify these, that you can create a framework for conversations that you can take people through step by step. And so I'd shown you originally, like, let's say right now I tell a story, it's very funny, ha 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 ha. It's a 3-minute story that's part of the process that's on my 7-step formula. Now you can have a whole session that's 7 steps, and then you can also have 7 different sessions, right? So you can create a matrix of 49 to create your full sort of curriculum. The idea being that you take a client through, like if I came up with some sort of business marketing process, I would be using the marketing conversations, and I would take my client through each one of these conversations. So because there's 120 values and there's 72 conversation types, there's literally, I think, billions of combinations of, and then if you put them in 7 steps, just those alone will give you, untold processes. But there's 4 other decks, and the other decks are concepts. Let me just get you something here. Like now we're just looking at parts of a business, a research field, which is different from an infrastructure, the abundance of infrastructure. And you can see that I'm changing the background. So I made these backgrounds and then put these things in. But the idea for me for a software program would be click, choose the background you want, click, choose the lens that you're in, click, you know, you're able to identify whatever it is that you have, but more in a visual format that links into the card set. So you have the card set on your own, like Nova has and Jorge has. And then you're able to design what you want to do to take your clients through, but you can also then teach the process to your clients. So there's also a large set of maps. I'll pull up another map here. This is another view of looking at the process, like without, that's again from the card point of view. And I don't think anything else exists out there where there's offline cards and online software that connects to it. So this map,
I think okay, yeah. No, I'm just kind of looking at it like I think I see a lot of interesting like features that could be possible to try and support this this kind of flow that you're setting up here. But I'm also kind of curious what would be like the minimum, you know, approach. Like if we did want to try and implement something with what we have today, would that even be possible? Or is that like yeah, it needs to have, you know, images, or needs to have these kind of, that's kind of where my brain is going right now. Like, because it's I get a feeling like that there is a lot of content, there is like a lot going on in the system, right? But is there maybe a like Magic the Gathering, like you could, that's a complicated game. Like you could really, like there's a lot going on in that game, but there's also like a starter pack, right? Like what's the starter pack for this? Well, and maybe that one we can take and like implement it just to see what it would feel like to drive it out. But yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, the idea being is the convo types and the values and all that are basically how you'd be programming what you showed us in the beginning. So if you didn't have that, you could still use it to create your program. Like Jorge is taking people through processes, Hajnal is, I am. I don't think Nova is as much at this time. So what we could do is each of us could, let's say, utilize your program to create a process. I mean, it's up. You can create it without the tools. You know, Jorge's got, you know, lots of things he wants to take people through that aren't directly linked to the tools. But the idea about the tools is it is a methodology to create a process. So, you know, since I kind of invented it, I'm sort of attached to it. But I think we could start by testing it out. I'm pretty sure Jorge could use it. I'm pretty sure Hajnal could use it.
We're kind of like exploring various different things regarding, you know, processes. And one thing which we could have tried, maybe would have been like easier to demo, would be we also have like an in-person mode for Warmspace, where basically you get the text prompts and the buttons on your phone, but there's no audio or video connection. So we could be using Zoom and having this kind of thing on the side, which is saying, okay, now please appreciate your partner, press done, right? So that's actually for a more in-person setting. If I'm actually talking to someone, we could have the Warmspace flow supporting us. But we've also actually used it in Zoom before to just kind of demo it to people and to kind of support the conversation. So that's just like a lot of possibilities with what we're doing. But not so much yet in the audio, in the visual kind of video space. So that's the one thing that we're not doing yet, you know.
Is it a big jump to be able to load up pictures?
It's, you know, it isn't. I think right now the thing is, like, as you saw with Jorge, like that performance issue is more like top of mind for me. And I'm like at a place where just considering like adding new things to it doesn't feel good yet, because that whatever that performance issue is, if we don't solve that, if we add another thing on top of it, it's just going to get worse. So that's kind of like the mind space that I'm in right now. It's like hard to consider like a new feature, even though probably if I take a few moments, it's like it's not that hard to do. I'm not so sure about the green screen replacement. Like I'd have to check if our video provider offers that like out of the box, and if they do, it's super easy to implement. If they don't, then I have to kind of like investigate a little bit. But yeah, like really for me, the priority from like an engineering and from a product point of view is to just have it work super duper smooth for everybody. And we're like, I don't know, not quite there yet, you know? So, yeah.
I mean, if your provider can just click a button and add that in, I would suggest to do that,
Yeah.
or perhaps find another provider. I just think that element is, at least I guess from my point of view, is huge. But how many people do you have using your software right now?
We have like 10,000 users signed up, but in terms of like daily use, it's not that much at the moment. Kind of like tweaking our ads and all that kind of stuff, and with the switch in strategy. So right now it's maybe like 2 or 3 sessions a day, people just connecting, strangers connecting and having a conversation. Okay. And at the companies, it's getting used a little bit more, but I don't have like the exact stats for that right now. Yeah.
Do you have like a sort of like outside group that's testing it, that's creating programs, do you have people specifically doing that?
Yeah, we're deploying it right now at one company, actually a construction company, where they're using it. That briefing process is one that we're using there. So they're using it with their staff, like before they start their day. And we're exploring right now a feedback flow for for a German media company. So it's to help employees give each other feedback. So instead of like having somebody there to facilitate the feedback process, it starts off kind of similar, like, hey, get settled, you know, thank each other for being here, and then it guides you through a process of how to give and receive feedback from each other.
Yeah. Do you have any like professional process makers that are testing it out?
Yeah, I mean, our team, so Delphine is kind of she is a facilitator kind of from her background. So she has implemented many of these kind of games and conversation patterns in her previous job, but she would facilitate them herself live, and now she's bringing some of those over to our platform.
That's someone on your team internally.
On my,
I was just wondering, externally, do you have any professionals that are sort of testers, that are professional process creators?
Professional process creators. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if he would describe himself as that, but one of the other people that we're working with at that company, he is kind of like a facilitator for these processes at that company. Okay. He created a process called Ignite, which is kind of one of the things that we're testing out today. Okay. He created that process, implemented it at the company, and then realized, like, I can't be here to do that always and forever. Like, I also want to go to other companies and teach them this. Okay. Came across Warmspace and said, hey, can we implement this inside of Warmspace? So I guess I would say he has a process, and he's a professional, and he's implementing it. So yeah, he's a professional process implementer. Check.
But so you're actually quite limited in how much people are testing it right now.
Yeah, it's not like in the tens. It's like a handful of people. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jorge.
Well, I'm just a little bit like, it's not really related to what we're talking about, just like this new thing I want to talk about that is coming up for me. But if you have something more about this, Elijah, you go ahead. I'll say this later.
Well, if it's related, I mean, I'm just sort of want to understand the concept.
It's not related.
It's not related at all. It's like,
no, it's not. I mean, it's related to what we're talking about, but it's more like I want to talk about like the hard part, like the hard part of what I've been sensing from what Warmspace and Oliver is bringing with this thing.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just.
Yeah. But okay. just to check with you, Elijah, does that kind of wrap it up for you for what you've been talking about, or is there anything else you want to add to that before we switch topics? Yeah.
I guess I'm just wondering how much leeway there is towards entering the programming space and design space together to sort of, figure out, to sort of jump in, but sort of you know, how, I'm just wondering if you guys, okay, this is the way it is and this is the way we're doing it, or are you open to sort of maybe jumping in
Yeah.
some new ways that you hadn't thought of before, but might take some programming?
I think we're open to that right now, just like in terms of resources, like it's just not that much, right? So we're trying to like lock down those deals and those current features that we have right now needed for this specific, you know, trajectory that we're on. So I guess it depends a little bit on, you know, urgency, right? Like we can talk, we can design, we can brainstorm a little bit together, see like if we could pare it down, but it probably, we won't be able to like work on a feature until, you know, the later part of this year, at least, I think. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of thinking of features. Yeah. And things could change suddenly. Like I might be able to figure out the performance issue, and all of a sudden my worldview kind of lightens up a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, there's a little bit more space. But like at the moment, the pressing issue is make the app like fantastic and beautiful and perfect in terms of performance, and settle some deals. So that's kind of like that's where Warmspace is at. And then at the same time, I'm excited about these kind of collaborations with you and kind of the bigger picture. Like more, yeah, impact type of, you know, conversations. Like, because I get the feeling also from Hajnal and what we've been talking about, like what you're working on is about having like a real impact on the world, right? And that's also why we started Warmspace. So I'm zooming in and out right now. I'm in the microscope level because that's just where I have to be. And I'm taking a little bit of a step back to be with you guys and to listen to where you're going. Yeah, it's it's hard to be in both places at the same time. So yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jorge. I'll
yeah,
in later on.
yeah. No, that makes sense. That resonates, and that this being in two places at the same time with this big picture, and then like the performance issue where you have to like go into the code and this thing.
Yeah.
I want to share a bit about the experience that I've been having with these facilitations and the connections that we've been having through the screen with others that have been creating like really these like fascinating, amazing connective spaces. And this has been happening through Zoom, and it's in our community. And from what I heard you say, like the MVP that you created, the first iteration of it was this simple, like kind of like meditation between two people, like getting together and looking at each other's eyes. And like from that, it created like these first few feedbacks or use cases, case studies of the people really connecting to this technology. And it's like, wow, I see you, I feel something, and I feel connected with you, and this is nurturing me, this is feeding me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I heard you said about this part of that kind of like you went into the survival part of the business, like, okay, like how do we make a living out of this? How do we make this like kind of like fit into other places? And that's amazing. And also like you just wanted to touch into that heart of what created this, which is super huge. It's big. We talk about that in our community a lot, and it's the basis of our connecting. Is that we're not talking so much about projects and about doing, but it's more like about the connection, and we base that on like looking into each other's eyes, and even staying there for 1 minute, like picking somebody in the screen and just looking at them and connecting with them, and it's just like the feelings start coming up, and we go into valuing ourselves beyond doing, and I think that's big part of the heart of this. And I wanted to speak to that is actually a huge field and a huge value that a piece of software could provide, and that is providing.
Yeah, I would love to maybe, because you know, like what I love about Warmspace, or what I kind of my original entry into Warmspace was this kind of more grounding flow. It was like, you know, welcome to the room. There's like soft music playing in the background, meditate together, and then you would open your eyes, and then the prompt would say, or actually the audio would have said, now open your eyes and look into your partner's eyes. And that was a powerful moment. And I think it was a powerful moment for a lot of people, because we heard it back also in the feedback. Wow, the eye contact was really something special after having meditated, to then really see somebody and connect. And that came at a time when I was like a little bit depressed. I was definitely like in a dip, and it kind of switched my whole day around, just having that conversation, having that connection. That was the powerful kind of movement that I felt from Warmspace. So it's nice to reflect on that and to hear that you're doing similar things, I guess, but then in a facilitated way inside of like a Zoom call, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we should. I would love to try that kind of flow with you one day if you're open to that. I'll figure out a way to schedule it. But yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of possibilities.
Yes, I mean, and as you were talking, there is also, I've been going to these meetings, they're online as well, and they are using a software called Free Conference Call. And this is about Violence Anonymous. I'm going into this space that's called Violence Anonymous, and it's pretty much like they have a structure of the meeting, and it's all done manually right now. Like somebody reads the page, and then somebody asks the other person, can you read this part? And then who wants to read this? And it's all like the same structure. And then there is a part where you share your experience, and there's a timing of 4 minutes, and then you get 3 minutes of feedback. So I just thought it's very structured like this, in this way, and it will be like an awesome like possible market to test it out with. Kind of like to have like because there is Violence Anonymous, but there is also like Alcoholic Anonymous that they meet online. There is, I don't know, Cannabis Anonymous. I don't know what else there is out there.
Yeah.
And it will be like these other places where you can like this can be used for that kind of like facilitating those processes.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to stay in touch about that.
Cool. Yeah. And thank you for creating it. And I do see how it fits right away with Elijah's prototype, or with Elijah's like kind of like these processes, like going from this like step 1, step 2, step 3, and it's like, okay, boom, 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 and like it's kind of like a more like a really like focused space.
Yeah, what I really enjoy about it also is that then there is no person that has to keep the agenda in mind. Everybody in the meeting can kind of relax into whatever their role is. And there's not like one person, because that's often the role that I end up taking also in like my previous job, is I kind of became the moderator for like my software team. You know, I kind of make sure that everybody had a chance to speak. And for example, like right now, I'm noticing Nova has not spoken in a while. But that's maybe okay. I think we're all kind of at a certain point where we're kind of self-moderating, self-facilitating, so that's no problem. But recently with my team at Warmspace, we had like a vulnerability circle powered by Warmspace, so it kind of gave everybody a chance to share some vulnerabilities, and nobody had to be the facilitator or the space holder. And that was like, that kind of opened my eyes in that moment. I was like, oh, that's really nice. We're all able to sink into this role without somebody having to do that.
Wow. Nova?
You're muted.
Oh, hello. Yeah, hello. Nice to meet you, Oliver. Yeah, I think I've heard of Warmspace before somehow. I'm not sure if it's from Elijah or from someone else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been to your website before, like last year sometime, I think.
Okay.
Is that possible? How long have you been operating?
Yeah, 2 years, more than 2 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there like a year ago. I looked at it. It's like, oh, this looks cool, but I don't remember who sent me there.
I think I did.
Yeah.
It could have. Yeah. Okay. It could have been you. So yeah, I got a few random questions if you're open to questions. The first thing confused me. When I first joined, it said join physical or join remotely. how would I join physical? If I press that button, what would have happened?
Yeah, then it would have put you into this mode where it doesn't load up the camera for you. And actually it would have switched all of our modes as well, kind of on the fly. This is like a feature that's still a little bit in progress and a little bit contentious at the moment with the rest of the team. But it would have switched everything over on the fly to this physical mode where you just see the prompts, the text is a little bit bigger, the buttons are a little bit bigger. And the idea is that that's for the in-person kind of conversation. Yeah.
Okay. I guess on the basis that perhaps, we planetary guardians, etc., might be able to use your tech or even work with you to create some sort of allied tech at some point. I had a couple of tech questions. I'm curious if you're willing to share, like, what voice or video over IP stuff are you using?
We're using daily.co, so that's our video provider. We actually went through 3 different providers. We started at Talkbox, then tried Agora, and finally settled at Daily. And just from a developer point of view, Daily was like the most pleasant to work with. Yeah.
I was wondering as well, like, thinking about the future, maybe we will like team up or employ your tech for what we're doing like a year down the road or something. So on that basis, I'm wondering about like privacy, encryption, and neutrality. Like, where do you stand on that stuff? Like, if we want to talk about anything we want, is there a problem there? Do you do you have plans to implement AI to data mine our speech and stuff like this?
No data mining. I'm really like adamant about that. I don't want to turn the users into the I can't come up with the word right now. And I don't want to turn them into the product, right? Like their information into the product. We are excited about AI though, and like how it could facilitate the conversation, but it's hard to like implement that in a way that everybody trusts it. So that we're still kind of thinking about that. But that's kind of like a long-term vision thing.
I think it can be really great if it's used the right way.
Yeah. So we're really excited about having AI. Like, right now we have prompts and it's like all predetermined, but it would be cool if an AI could step in and be like, oh, it looks like you're struggling to come up with a follow-up question. Here's some suggestions, right? That kind of idea, that would be really great. Or such and such hasn't spoken in a while, like a little flashcard pops up, like, here's a suggestion for how you can include them in the conversation. Maybe ask them about like just really targeted kind of advice and help. That's kind of the great dream, the great vision for what we're doing. So yeah, AI definitely for things that help users, not for data mining or advertising or this kind of makes me feel bad kind of stuff.
I'm curious too, just on the personal level, in regards to this meeting. Did you end up watching any of our previous meeting recordings before you met with us?
I kind of got about 30 minutes into the one, what did we learn from Lucille? And I did watch the 12, like Hajnal sent that to me to check out. I watched that, I took some notes. I wasn't really sure what we were going to talk about today, so I was kind of like trying to catch up a little bit. I thought it was interesting. I understood that you guys actually went there. Were you at that place, or because what I watched was the 12? They all got together. Were you guys there, or were you guys involved in that somehow, or no? Okay.
No. No. I mean, we were both involved, but not physically. Most of that thing was a 9-month online experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a participant, and Elijah was one of the facilitators and co-creators of the curriculum, basically. That's how I see. Would put it.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. But we personally knew each other already, actually, so it was kind of an interesting dynamic for us. So we could see both sides of it at the same time, and yet, Okay.
And it's my understanding, because Hajnal actually wanted us to connect as well, or suggested that we connected, you and me, Nova, because you're also a programmer, or you're kind of in this space.
I've done web design, web programming for 20 years, and I'm just finishing up a software engineering degree, so like C++ and all that stuff.
Okay.
So I'm an IT person, I suppose. I'm also a permaculture teacher and enthusiast, and there's other aspects of my life that have nothing to do with IT. But yeah, I do have skills there.
Cool. Yeah. Well, if there's anything shouting out at you just from seeing that app or any ideas or tips, I'm happy to hear them. But yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, basically what we're struggling with is, I think, just kind of best practices around JavaScript and React and kind of profiling that. I'm kind of getting my nose into that right now. So I don't know if that's anything that you've messed around with before in the past, but just throwing that out there, out into the universe to see.
I definitely have, but these days I need to be paid.
I understand.
I just don't have the time to do a lot of programming right now outside of what I'm already doing. But yeah, are you using PHP or JS Node or?
So the backend is a Ruby on Rails thingy, and
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and then the app itself is just JavaScript and React. Yeah, using React primarily. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Could I ask it's more of a business question in terms of how much time do you guys got before you got to have something that's making money?
I'm actually an open book, but then I always wonder, like, am I allowed to say these things?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I mean, I'm just wondering if you're 2 months away or a year. I mean, it sounds from what I hear just from your testing that you're still at you're still haven't figured out your business model in terms of how it can actually make revenue.
I think we're really close to we haven't validated our business model. I think we figured out our business model, but we haven't validated it. So and we're really close. Like it's make or break this year. I think if by May we should know that this is going to work, or that we have to find some other ideas. Yeah. So we have some deals in the pipeline, some percentage chance of that they're going to work out, and if they do, then things are looking really different for Warmspace. And if they don't, then we have to get together and figure out, okay, what are we going to do differently, or what do we need to change, or who else do we need to target, that kind of thing. But in terms of business plan, in terms of product, we have kind of an offering out there. It's being tested, it's being used at that company. And basically come May, we should know yes, this works for them, it's giving value, and we have some kind of deal or not. And then there's various other little conversations and deals ongoing. But right now we're really focused on this one specific deal, trying to make that work. Yeah.
It's a construction company?
Yeah.
When Jorge was talking about what he was bringing up, it sounded that's a perfect fit for large organizations to put their processes involved, with AA. If you could get AA or a few AAs and have an actual online version of AA, I don't know if they go, maybe you have to have a physical presence, but that sounds like a massive doorway.
Yeah, I would love to talk to anybody about that, and then maybe hook you up with Edric, our founder, who's more in charge of sales and partnerships and that kind of thing. It's really I don't know. I don't like to say finality, make or break. It's not that. It's just, it's a very interesting time in the history of Warmspace. I think it's an exciting time. It's it's our chance. It's our shot right now. You know what I mean? The ball is in our court, and let's score a goal. That's kind of where we're at. It's not our backs are against the walls and the runway is running out and all that kind of stuff, right? It's just this is our shot, and not throwing it away.
Do you have any? Do you have something like a sort of a random one of the things I've seen about online dating is it supposedly has ruined dating for every human being, and because there's just so many things about it that have a horrible sort of communication setup, and I'm just wondering, do you have some sort of methodology of bringing people together for a connecting convo that would be some sort of dating platform that would be sort of a random connection that that would be a no-brainer in terms of
We have kind of a scheduling system, so people can basically say, I want to have a Warmspace with a stranger at this time, and then that shows up on our website, and then someone else can click on that time and they will be matched with that person.
Really?
So yeah, that's how these daily conversations are happening. And
Right.
yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm surprised there's only 2 or 3 a day. I mean, I guess a sort of a new marketing push or something to get the word out there that that's possible.
Yeah, we were doing a lot more, maybe 6 or 8 months ago. It's just the focus kind of switched to, B2B. So that part of the product kind of, got deprioritized. We were doing like community reach out. We were doing a lot of like events to bring people in. We would have like this weekly, Warmspace gathering with the whole community. That got a little bit deprioritized while we're working on the B2B kind of deals. Yeah.
I was on that same line. What Elijah is bringing up, like possibly like partnering up with already apps that are creating these sort of dating platforms. Like perhaps there is a dating platform that aligns in values with your platform, and they will look like bloom. Like it will be like a perfect match. Like, hey, meet online, meet a stranger, have a random date, blind dates, and it's all facilitated. So you don't need like an actual facilitator. So that could be pretty cool. I mean, that's a hot market right now, it feels. People
It's a great
online.
idea.
Yeah.
I think we had a few people like mention that in the feedback as well. Like, I would love a dating
cool.
version of Warmspace.
Yeah.
So maybe in our future we pivot at some point. But
right on.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at the map behind me, this is called the 5 communication spaces. So it's basically the personal space, which is just you by yourself, one-on-one space, which is what we're just talking about, the group space, which you're looking at for companies, and then community space would be sort of like much larger volumes of people in a less maybe specific way. These are very important distinctions in terms of what you're talking about, right? Like in terms of the how you're organizing your app. I don't know if you've ever seen. I mean, it's so simple. It's kind of obvious, but I just think the business, like I think what Jorge just said, like getting a partner with a dating app and creating a revenue model that partnered with them would be necessary. Like you want impact. I mean, I tell you, like, I mean, the stats are something like 80% of the women are going after 5% of the guys, and 30% of guys haven't had sex in the last year in their 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know what the stats were before that. Maybe they were different. But it just seems that there's the ability for people to connect together has been killed by dating apps. And from what you're talking about, you're trying to bring back intimacy. You're trying to bring back an actual, like, I mean, I wonder if there's a rating system in terms of, I don't know if you have this where they review the conversation afterwards and they review the person. So if someone, let's say I randomly have a chat with someone and I have a great conversation and I click, okay, this person's very interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
No, so we haven't really built out any of the kind of profile or social kind of features that, seem kind of I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like obvious, like it would be really nice to have these kind of social features. We haven't worked on that at all. Yeah, it's just like we've been really trying to make that experience in the room that has to be like super duper polished. And then a switch kind of happened into like, okay, it doesn't look like we're able to monetize, or I don't even like that word, but it doesn't look like we're able to build a business out of what we're doing here. The impact side of Warmspace, that always remains and is still free. People can always like sign up for free and set up their stranger conversation, and we're even still advertising a little bit, right? So it's not like we completely deprioritize that, but we just realized we need some kind of recurring revenue model, and there was kind of demand from the market, from the people that were using Warmspace. Like, I can see that and I could use that for, in my context. So let's get together and let's talk about that. And that's what we've been working on. And then narrowing down on a few different partners that like we're really serious about making it work. Yeah.
What about, like, could I, let's say I wanted to set up a debate, and I wanted to set up a debate between the four of us. And
Jorge has
can I just finish?
something. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I have to go.
Oh,
Really, I have to
okay.
go. Yeah, I had a schedule for an hour, and
Going a little bit
I
longer.
can, yeah, I can be here for like, yeah, I want to hear your question, and then I'll just
Okay.
be after that.
And maybe
Okay.
we can, me too, maybe we can wrap up our side of it in the next 5 minutes, and you two can continue to talk if you need to, or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So could you set it up? So let's say we had a 2-minute intro, and then we had like, everyone had their 2 minutes. And then could we set up a debate format that timed everything perfectly? Is that possible within what you have?
That's possible. Yeah, we don't have like the automatic that it automatically goes to the next person's turn.
Could you?
Just because like that wouldn't be too hard to implement. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Because there's something like, I have had a strong desire to create an online debating program to sort of dive into issues that, you know, we're all experiencing, but we don't have rigorous debate, and then have some sort of rating system where the audience can go, okay, they won, and then you have like a sort of a leaderboard where you have debate teams that are starting to have debates. So is this something that could be created?
I mean, the leader and the ranking thing, that's not that doesn't exist at all at Warmspace. I think that's more like a custom type of thing that we'd have to talk about, or you know, maybe just do by hand for a while. You know what I mean? But I think most of this kind of debate flow back and forth, people having time, having a specific role, that can be done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jorge, go ahead.
Very nice to meet you, Oliver. Thank you, and I hope we get to meet again.
Yeah,
Thank
it's been
you.
lovely.
Yes,
Thank
you know, I love it, and thank you for creating this warm space. Yeah, we
Thanks
call
for
it
having me.
in our community, we call it yellow stuff. When there's this yellow stuff happening in the space, and there's like
Yes.
intimacy happening, is like we call it yellow stuff.
Yes.
So thank you so much. And thank you, Elijah. Thank you, Noah. See you guys soon in our next meeting.
See you, Jorge.
Alrighty. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Do you need to go to Nova? I've got a bit more time if you want to speak, or how's your time, Oliver?
I'm good. Yeah, I have some time. Yeah.
How about Nova? What do you?
I guess where I'm at is I can see lots of possibilities as far as future integration, or even partnering, or discussing some of the stuff, maybe even with your other business partner. But I do have other things I must do, and I'm going to leave. But it's super nice to meet you, and maybe this isn't the last time. That would be cool.
For sure. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening.
See you, Nova.
Okay. See you guys later.
Can you bring back the screen for the programming side?
Yeah. Do that.
And I hope I'm not being rude by asking certain business questions. I'm just very interested from that point of view.
No, it's I love talking about it. I really don't mind. I just haven't really discussed with my team, like, are we allowed to communicate what our runway is? I actually wouldn't mind telling you. I just have no idea if somebody would be like, hey, that's internal. Actually, we have an update, an investors update, where we have all this information in there. So I think it's okay, but I don't know. It's recording. I have no idea.
Well, the things, I mean, we do, like, I'm sort of, there's a story behind what we're doing, and I sort of, every video is loaded, but we have a very small audience, if we have any. So it's more of a historical type of record, that perhaps if we ever really do what we're aiming at doing, there's going to be this storyline of how we did it. But
Yeah.
but there definitely is not a major, like
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer anything you want, even, you know, numbers and stuff like that. If I know them off the top of my head, then I have no problem. I can't share my screen yet, though, unfortunately.
Let me okay.
So This is the configuration kind of app. We call this Flow Builder. And yeah, you can see that you have the sections here, and the sections are made up of steps.
Now, can I change all that languaging?
You can change all that languaging. Like, let's build one together. I can maybe, this would be interesting.
Okay.
Let's do some live flow building. Let's see if I can, let's see where we get, you know, like create new flow, debate, 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we will go here.
So does anyone have access to this, or only special people have access to this?
Right now, so the creating a flow, what you're seeing here is really just for the Warmspace team. And I did it the wrong way. Hold on, I have to make it over again. Because of this kind of like these kind of like UX things, it's not ideal yet for people. It's easy to make like a little mistake like I just did right now.
Okay, so the average, like if I just went on my own, I couldn't do this.
Yeah, just because it's like a little bit complicated, but it's just not the thing that we focused on in terms of our business. But if it becomes like the clear next step to enable people to make their own flows, it's relatively easy for us to focus down and be like, okay, what are the UX changes that we need to do to enable this flow?
I would definitely, from a, let's say, professional facility, I would want this part.
You would want. Yeah.
Sure.
It's funny because some people are like, this is too complicated. We just want, basically the way that we're offering it now is that Delphine or, you know, the salesperson co-develops it like we're doing right now with the person. Because yeah, from a UX point of view, there are still improvements to be made. But so like right now I'm creating an introduction, and I'll be like, you know,
how about like introduce player one, introduce player one, introduce player two, introduce player three, introduce player four kind of thing? Yeah,
the way it works actually is at all times in a conversation, this gets a little bit technical, but at all times in a conversation, someone is person A and someone is person B, and then everybody else is called everybody else. So you always have somebody called A, somebody called B, and then everybody else. And who is A and who is B, that can rotate across the group.
So you couldn't switch that to player C and D, add in two more for a 2-on-2 debate kind of thing?
No, at the moment we wouldn't be able to have like 4 roles that are actually named.
Yeah.
But that would be we could maybe work around that in some way. Yeah.
So okay, let's keep going. Yeah, introduce player A.
All right, so it would be like data dots. Let me think about this. Yeah, and maybe like introduce yourself, right? Data. So who's introducing who? How does this work?
So I would say there'd be like a moderator, and then there'd be like, let's say we just have a debate between 2 people.
Okay.
So you have a moderator who introduces the player A and then introduces player B.
Okay.
And sets up the process of going, this is how we're going to do this.
Okay. So then we do introduce A, and then, but this could be something that they kind of do themselves. It doesn't necessarily have to be like in the flow, but it could be. So it'd be like, welcome to the debate, and then yeah, we don't have a moderator role. I think we're kind of getting up to the edges of what we can do, but let's see. Player A. Introduce B. Okay, so right now it's just kind of a one-sided thing. You would just click through that, and it would show those prompts to everybody.
Okay.
And then debate, right? You would get into the debate, or introduce the topic, right? Our topic for today is,
let's say 9/11.
Okay.
Who did 9/11?
Okay. 9/11. All right. Let's use that, and then the debate starts, right? So it would be,
yeah, so let's say player A introduction, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Or an initial argument, I guess 3 minutes or something, or
yeah,
and then player B,
okay,
their response, then their 3 minutes.
yeah. So it would be like, please provide your opening, right? Or
Yeah.
is that kind of what it would be? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this is what player A sees. Please provide your opening statement. Player B then sees, you know,
Listen, just
Uh,
listen to player
yeah,
A.
please wait. Wow. Your opponent in this case, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Provides opening.
Now with this 3 minutes, so that you could set up for the 3 minutes only player A could talk, player B couldn't interrupt.
No, so it's really not built for that kind of conversation, right? Where where there is this kind of
So they'd have to have restraint.
adversarial.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd have to have restraint. But could we build that? I think so. It wouldn't be too difficult. But is there like a use case? Is there like a business case for that? That's what would make me. That's what would help me decide. Is that something that we put on the roadmap and prioritize it? Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, okay.
So yeah, and then so for this would be 3 minutes. That would be the duration. In this case, like a button would pop up and start flashing.
Yeah.
But the feature that we would need here is some kind of like automatically go to the next step so that the next person gets muted and the other person gets unmuted. But yeah, we don't have that yet. Yeah.
Okay. Then add a step would be player B introduction.
Yeah, so in this case, what we do is we cycle the roles. This is kind of like a little bit of a programming thing, but we introductions complete. If everybody has done their introductions, then we if not, we go back to introduction. And if yes, we just continue to the next section. So what's happening here is like, we could have like 6 people in here and they could all take their time to introduce themselves. Right now, we don't have like this distinction between, people that are part of it and people that are just observing, or people that are doing a whole different kind of moderating role. It's really everybody's part of this flow or not.
Oh. So anyone could jump in if they wanted to, in a sense.
Yeah, like right now, in this like preview mode, you can see this is what it would look like if there were 3 people in this debate right now. So I would say welcome to the debate, and you press done. Somebody else would press done, and the third person would press done. And then now it's going to like the introductions, but hold on, let me see what's going on here. This is first of all written wrong. Introduce player A. And really what I would do here is more like introduce role A, and I would like loop over that as well, so that everybody with that is there would have a chance to introduce themselves. But in this case, I just kind of implemented it quickly like this. Okay, and then the topic, just got to make sure that the buttons are there. So it's not really built for exactly what you want, but we can maybe work around it for this little demo. So this debate, yeah.
It's funny because me and Nova actually did what you did. We got together and we built a program, and it was linked into having a chat room where you could program a goal, a timer, a point score, a combo type, and a value, and then have a sort of a back end where sort of like 12 facilitators could have 12 people each. So I could basically get 12 facilitators set up to get 12 chat rooms with 12 people in it. So I was aiming at 144 people, because like the idea that I'm playing with is basically creating something called a shared knowledge community, which is like a new paradigm organization. So if you look at the corporation, did you ever see the movie The Corporation?
No.
No. Write this down. You might want to take a look at it, because it's
okay.
I think it's at the heart of actually probably why you left your job. Anyway, it's a documentary that says that the corporation has all of the attributes of a psychotic individual. And so the main problem we're facing is that type of structure is creating all the problems in the world. And so if we're going to create something for the new paradigm, or we need a new paradigm organization, which is basically, which I've called a shared knowledge community, but it's 144 people that have a shared infrastructure and marketing system, but they're able to make products and sort of have the larger infrastructure support, but have that support be on your side and not kind of screw you as an artist or an inventor, so to speak. And so why'd I bring that up just now? Just to quickly go over like this, what we're doing right now is setting up just one of the convo types of what I put forward in terms of the card set, right? Debate is one of them. You could look at a brainstorm, you could look at, so what I'm seeing is, okay, we were creating the chat rooms where you'd have a convo type, and then you'd have some sort of functioning that was specific to that convo type. So what you're looking at connecting convos, right, as your main sort of platform. So what you're looking at one of the 72 conversation types. Now, what we just did there is we went in there with another convo type, the debate, and started setting up a platform, like basically a methodology to have a debate, right? So now what I'm seeing with you guys is you're going to have at least a 2-tier. You're going to have professional facilitators or designers that are going to want to specifically design something that they want to do, versus the people who just want to come in and go through a process. So the people that are designing the processes are basically the people who want to get paid for it. And the people are going into the process, let's say in a business model, will pay X amount of money to go through that process, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so if I'm a facilitator and I'm setting up and I'm going, okay, well, let's say I don't want to be in every one of them, but I can set it up so it'll just run on itself. Then the business model is either I'm getting paid to do that, or I can set it up so my clientele can use it. And then I've got some sort of relationship with you where you go, okay, well, we'll create this. But then the business side is, let's say this debating program is a great debating program. And let's say all of a sudden we've got hundreds of thousands of people using it, right? There could be a $10 fee to join this debating program with your team. And then now you're going into all these debates. And I think that would catch on, because there's so much argument and conflict online, and it's not that intelligent, right? It's usually in discussion boards, it's usually breaks down. But I think that humans right now have, whether it's the left or the right, whether conservative or Republican, whatever it is what we're lacking is a rigorous inquiry into the truth.
But who is kind of paying for that in this scenario? Like,
well, I would say that let's say it would start out free, and then you'd have, like, to me, if I could sort of be with a buddy and go out debating people and participate, let's say in a league, you'd have, I'd put it up like sports. You'd have a regular season, and then you'd have tournaments, and then you'd have playoffs, and then you'd have, like in Magic the Gathering, right? You've got all these people playing the game, but at the end of the year, you got a big tournament where you become the Grand Master. So what I would do is I'd set it up like that. And so then,
I think,
go ahead.
What it's touching on for me is kind of like the grander vision of this platform is I always, where I want to get to is something called powered by Warmspace, which to me represents like a set of features that allow people like you and everybody that sees Warmspace and thinks, I would like to use this, but for debates. I would like to use this, but for user experience research. I would like to use this, but for relationship therapy, whatever, right? Whatever they see Warmspace for, and then they have ideas that I couldn't even, imagine.
Right.
I want to get to a place where they can go like, okay, let me do that. And let me integrate it with, this other leaderboard software or this other, matching software, because I'm trying to like focus down on this container of this conversation process.
Yeah.
And because that debate software is going to need some kind of ranking and some kind of scoring. That doesn't really feel like like it's part of this Warmspace package, but it could be, if I create the correct, APIs and the correct, entry points, it could somehow be integrated. That's kind of my great vision for Warmspace, is to make this kind of a open platform and open format for creating conversation processes that people like you and others can use to implement things. So it's nice to hear about these different use cases, because it helps me to understand, like, okay, what are the integration points and how could this support what you're trying to do? Yeah.
I agree. Because I mean, I've spent 25 years researching and designing what I'm working on and showing you. So I've spent a lot of time. I've got a lot of different sort of things to play with that I want to create, that I'm not a software programmer. And so with Nova, it was the first time with a programmer that we went and created something that I think is necessary, like in the same as you, a chat room that actually can be programmed to have to create more of a game-like environment. I think when you can bring in a game-like environment to anything, that's where, like, if there's a point score, if there's a time limit, things that are inherent within most games, makes it more fun. And most of my languaging that I'm using in terms of is business language. So if you can, I always thought that game softwares are so advanced, but they don't do business applications. And then you look at business applications, which can, but they look so crappy. And they're not like people spend so much time in games, right? And then you get to business software and it's like, oh my God, it's so dull and boring. So like just looking like right now, if I could type up, let's say, my name above and a name above yours, and let's say I put, like, there's something we were talking about with in one of our meetings, where the archetypes of the lover, the wizard, the king, and the warrior. Have you heard of that? That there's a book called that. Anyway, so these are archetypes that humans, basically the warrior is your physical side, lover is your feeling heart side, the wizard is your mind, and the king is your spirit or your being, right? So we have these 4 archetypes. Now, if the four of us were speaking, and I'm sort of like the wizard, Nova is like the king, Hajnal is the lover, and Jorge is the warrior. So when you're speaking from that particular archetype, now let's just say I could put above my head and type in, which would have a frame, wizard. And then you had, you understand. So what I see missing is you can't frame the conversation. Like, you can't add, like I can't do anything to this thing that we're in right now. And so there's no distinction. And so it's kind of like, let me just show you something else.
And you'd want it to be visible for everybody it's not like a broadcasting thing, right? Like it just has to be part of the conversation.
Well, no, I want it like it's like this, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think this is where we're going. I think we're going, like, let's say I had wizard up here, right? I love being able to change backgrounds. That changed my life, that Zoom could do this, because I have so many things, that I want to do in terms of, just like this. If I'm in, let's say I'm telling a story, like this is the big thing. Like there's no place on the planet, like I've invented something, right? Value cards and combo types. Now, value cards are very obvious. There's tons of card sets that have values. No big deal in terms of that. No one has codified conversations that I know of, right? But when you put the two together, it creates a whole different way to codify communication. And so we're going in and out of all these conversations. Like, we go into a bit of design specs. We might be going into a bit of Jorge was giving feedback. Maybe you told a story about how you started. So human beings are always going in and out of these convo types. But the idea of actually choosing a convo type to be in, and then to have that as something that you're in, let me show you something else here.
But can you help me understand how are we using this? How do you, or how would I use this background? Because I understand. Okay, carrying needs analysis. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say
is this a tool for you? Is this a tool for me to understand where we're at? Like, give me a little bit more context. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I'm a marketer and your company, and I'm coming to you and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to take you through a process and we're going to figure out, how you guys can make money with your business. So one of the first things I would do is a needs analysis. I figure out what you need, right? And then figure out what your client needs.
Yeah.
That's a conversation type.
Okay. Right. But then is there some, as you look at that card, or like, have you memorized how to have that conversation? What are we doing now? Like, how do we use this? Yeah.
Well, that sort of goes to my acumen as a marketer. But also if we go back to the sheet that you just showed me, and that's the thing of, let's say, the next step for you or me or anything, if you're right, it needs to have a breakdown, needs analysis. Okay, so who's your target market? What are your main benefits? How do those benefits connect to that target market kind of thing, right? So if you had prompts that took the person through that's a very powerful methodology. And that's what I think I was getting at when me and Nova were doing the chat room, where we had if we were doing a brainstorm, and so people in the chat room would put all these different ideas, and one of the mechanisms, we're calling a mechanism, would be to put a support button. He built it so you could put a support button. So you got 20 ideas, you got 5 people in the chat room, and you have 3 supports. And so once you've done the brainstorm, and now whatever you support, then you would close that chat room, you open up the next piece, and now you're doing a critical analysis on what you chose, but you're only choosing the top 3 that were chosen. So the thing is, you're right, each of these convo types does have a specific methodology that you would use, and that would be part of, like, let's say right now, you had all 72 conversation types built into your program, and somebody could now drag and drop and go, okay, we're going to start with the first contact, and then we're going to do a welcoming, and then we're going to do a needs analysis, and then we're going to do this and this, and that's what I'm wanting to create.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a massive, there's nothing like that.
It feels to me like it's like the powered by Warmspace use case. It's not really kind of where we're at with Warmspace right now, but it would be kind of like at some point, and I think this is maybe where I want to start on this, it's still in this, it's like Jorge said, going back and forth between different things. I think I can stay in a space of possibility, but the way that my mind works is still kind of like, it's hard to think about the future when I'm in the present, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, as a programmer, you're probably going, well, shit, I got to do about 2 years of work to get that going.
So I'll try to, like, okay, I'm going to take off that cap entirely. Okay, that cap's gone. I can't make any promises about the roadmap. So like that's my final, like, disclaimer.
Right.
But this is the kind of stuff I would love to work on. And I think the, like, powered by Warmspace idea that I have, that's where I want to get to in terms of enabling these kind of different things. Because the way it's set up right now, I start to bring up all these different disclaimers and gotchas and, like, hesitating. But the dream, the vision is to be at a place where everything that you're explaining now is like, okay, yeah, I can see how that could fit in, and click, done. But not quite there yet.
For sure. I mean, I think that I do want to play with it as it is. It sounds as if I'd have to be with you or somebody to go through that program with them. I'd love to set up the debate thing and try it out. I think that there's low-hanging fruit in terms of certain processes or certain convo types that may be easy to produce, that could be very useful for people. That we could,
I think that would be the best way to start. And I don't necessarily need any kind of, like, business plan or whatever. I think I would just love to get together with you and implement some kind of process, or some, whatever you see would fit inside of Warmspace. We could implement that together, and then I could let you play with it. And just the feedback of you using it is already super duper valuable for us. And that might lead to other things. So if you want to do that, I'm I'm down to play. Yeah.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I would, because I swear to you, it's like, maybe it's the same thing for you where you're going, okay, you're a programmer, you got all these different ideas, but you have to kind of narrow down to one idea that's actually going to work, and you got to put aside all these other ideas you got, right? And I mean, I'm whatever you are, times that by 1,000 for me. I mean, I'm all over the place with, because new ideas come in all the time with all how all these things work together for me. But I think unless in the next little while I come up with something that I think is better, I would love to create a debate thing with you. And I'll do the test. I'll like the thing which I will do is I'll put a heck of a lot of work into it in terms of making it go. You know, if you just help me.
But this idea of like leaderboards and ranking, that is a little bit out of scope for me, though. It's really just about the conversation and having two people.
Let's just start. We'll start with doing it, and all that other stuff can be figured out or whatever. But we have to work within the limits of what you have. Like, you know, I'm not going to ask for things that you can't build or can't be integrated now. But let's just see if we can create something.
Okay.
And then from there, you know, we can. Anyway, you just got to start, right?
Yeah, I think maybe as a way of having two people exchange their views, I think that could be done. I think having like a moderator and someone keeping score, that's hard because everybody's part of the flow. So like to distinguish the moderator as someone separate from a debater, we can't really do that at the moment.
Well, I think what we would do, I mean, I don't know, because it sounds like you can't do it with the 4. We could start with 2 people and have no one else in there.
Yeah.
They go in and debate it, and then it gets loaded to YouTube as a debate, and then people see it, and then they do the ranking and stuff, right? Like, I'm sure we can find some other methodology to do all that other ranking stuff. All I would want is an outputted video that is the debate.
Okay. Yeah.
And if we could start with 2 people, we start with the 2 people first, and then maybe we could jump to a 4 you know, if we do the 2 people right, the 4 person shouldn't be that tougher. If we've already figured out the 2 and we just add 2 more people in, if we could maybe go, I don't know.
I think just as like as a you know, starting point for us to work together and to see what's possible with Warmspace, to open up the possibility space, I think it's a fine place to start. And yeah, there's going to be some limitations or some things that we have to work around, but all of that will be useful to understand. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe do you want to jump into it next week? Set aside maybe a couple hours, and I could create a structure ahead of time, and then so when we actually sit down, I'll have the whole thing figured out, and we just go through your process.
Yeah, if you kind of design a 2-person debate format with like text prompts that you kind of imagine.
Yeah.
And then I think if we carve out, you know, 2 hours somewhere next week, let's see how far we get. I think we could do it in that amount of time.
Okay. And I think that if we, let's say both of us get good at doing 2-hour things, maybe, you know, if you see the value, we could maybe do one a week. And then all of a sudden you're popping out a new methodology every week. And I'm getting something that's connecting to my stuff. So both of us would benefit. I mean, we can just start with the 1 and see, but I would commit to that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not so sure what I can commit to. I would love to kind of play it by ear.
I mean, let's just do the first one and see how it goes, and then see how your team likes it and all that kind of thing. But that brings a little excitement to my because like I think, you know, we need rigorous debate. We need it. And I've been wanting to create something like that, so that gives me okay. So how about you figure out your timing next week? I'm probably a lot more flexible than you. Send me something that works for you, and then I'll pen it in.
Okay. I will send you a link with like where you can just pick a time. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Okay. And what I'm seeing is we should record it. And then for you, it's a great, like to send to someone who wants to create their own thing, you can just say, look, here's what we did. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point in this process, it becomes like, okay, we're ready to let you design it yourself, maybe while I provide guidance. That would give me a whole heap of like usability, you know, information of like where is it confusing, where might you be getting stuck. So I think this is going to be a nice collaboration. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So I'll end the convo here. I'll load it up. I'll send it to you, the video, and maybe you could send it to your team and see if, you know, if I mean, because we can keep it off. I could put it unlisted or something like that, right? So if there's something which they don't want others to see or something, but I think this is like,
I think it's no problem. Yeah.
Okay. Because like,
yeah.
I have like the larger design, which I'm working on, is called the Inflow Matrix operating system. So I've been designing a software system for 25 years, waiting for the tech to catch up. And this, like, as you being that plug and play, like I hear what you want to do. To me, I'm bringing together all these different parts to create this larger operating system. And I think once you see that, it's like there's something bigger we're all building together. And I think it's linked to the AI. Like I think we need to build an AI that is actually human, you know, good for humans. Like, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was also the original kind of like pitch for Warmspace, like AI facilitated conversations. And we have like all this framework now, and at some point we're going to start exploring really how to integrate that. But it's a tricky question. Yeah.
Okay. Great to meet you, Oliver. And hello to the rest of the Warmspace team. And so send me a link and we'll figure it out.
All right. It's been lovely. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.